I have a single method that I use to not only help with scrolling, but almost every area of my life. It's really simple. It's called the vision filter. So for me, a filter is just a type of a way, a method of making decisions. And it starts with, let me start over. I have a really simple method that I use in a lot of areas of my life, but in particular, I use it with scrolling and trying to minimize my phone use. And it's really simple, it's really easy, and it starts with kind of a recognition that you can categorize your commitments into 3 different buckets. You can categorize them into obligations, distractions, and intentions. An obligation is a commitment that you have that's serving someone else's vision. Think of someone asks you to do a favor, you accept. It's an obligation. You might want to do it or feel good about doing it, but it's still an obligation. If you have a traditional job, you don't work for yourself, you work for someone else. If you spend 8 hours there, that's 8 hours of obligations you're fulfilling. Again, you might like your job, you might not, but it's still an obligation. It's serving someone else's vision. Then there's a distraction. That's a commitment you have that serves nobody's vision. So if you watch Netflix every night for no specific reason, that's a distraction. It's not a bad thing. But if you do that every day, it is what it is. Now, if you agreed to watch Netflix with your spouse every night to spend quality time, that's not necessarily a distraction. That is the third category, which would be an intention. An intention is a commitment that you have that serves your vision. So in that case, you had a vision to watch Netflix with your significant other every night. And so that's an intentional act that meets your vision, your collective vision. And so when you apply this, it's called the vision filter. And basically it's saying, well, look at your commitment that you have or are making or are about to make. So whether you have it or not, or whether it's something you're considering, and apply this vision filter to it. Essentially, does this meet my vision? Does this meet someone else's vision? Or no vision at all? And you kind of want to, the idea here is to maximize the amount of intentions you have in your life. Those commitments that you have to yourself that meet your vision. So if you don't have a vision, it's really easy. A vision is just a set of goals, and a goal is just a commitment to pursue some desired outcome. I'm very careful with those words, pursue and desired outcome. A desire is a prediction. You think you want it. And pursue is just, I'm going to take actions toward it. Because you can't really necessarily guarantee your outcomes. You can't at all, really. You can control your actions so you can pursue something, but you can't really say, I want to have this outcome and I commit to that outcome, because that's not how it always works. And then a desire is just I think that I want that, so I'm going to pursue that. But it gives you kind of the ability to change it. As you pursue it, maybe you find that's not serving you well, and you can try to change that goal. So again, having a vision is just a set of goals, some outcome that you want, and then you're pursuing that. And so I apply this to my scrolling behavior. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But I try to say I'm only going to consume content that's related to my vision. So one of my goals is this YouTube channel. So I'm pursuing content related to whatever I'm working on at the time, whether it's, okay, what do I do to improve thumbnails, or how do I improve retention, or anything. But it's not something that I'm going to do maybe in 3 years. It's something I need to do now. So I'm not consuming videos related to how do I manage 1 million followers, because I have 34. It doesn't make any sense to do that. That's a distraction. Even though that might be a long-term goal, a long-term vision, it's not really serving you well right now. And so then I have another goal of, spending quality time with my kids this summer. The summer is almost over. We're closing in on Labor Day, but I've consumed content related to that goal. And I have other goals in my life. I had a goal of running a sub 2 hour half marathon. So I consumed content related to that goal. I finished that marathon. I reached that goal. So do you think I watch running videos on YouTube anymore? I don't. I still get them in my feed, but I don't really look at them. I have another run coming up, and maybe I have another goal there, and maybe I should consume content related to that goal. But until it's official, I'm not doing it. And so this helps me cut down on the types of content I watch. Now, it still gives me room for distractions. Like I said, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Do I follow this rule religiously? No. But it cuts out a lot of stuff, and it's just a constant reminder for myself of, am I consuming this content in pursuit of my vision or not? And if I'm not, I have to kind of have a reckoning with myself of whether, should I be doing that? And sometimes, yeah, that's fine. I want to, I need to, or whatever it is. Needs, got to be careful with needs. But there's pitfalls here, right? Because procrastination can feel like pursuit can get you towards your goal, but also pursuit can quickly fall into procrastination. You can consume content over and over and over again, but if you're not actually taking action, if you're not actually taking the next step, pursuing the goal, then it no longer counts. So if you had a goal to write a book and you've been, consuming content related to how to write a book for 2 years and you don't have anything written, I wouldn't count that as an intention, because I think you've consumed enough. It's time to start taking action. And once you start taking action, maybe you get some, writer's block. Well, now it's acceptable to consume content related to how to overcome writer's block. So anyway, it's called the vision filter. It's you just realize you can categorize your commitments into obligations, a commitment that pursues someone else's vision, distraction, a commitment that pursues no vision, and intention, commitments that pursue your vision. If you don't have a vision, what are you waiting for? Set some goals. It's really easy. Write down everything in your life that you want to change. Cross off everything but 3 and do those. Those are your goals, right? And there's more nuance to that, but if you're just getting started, that's as simple as it can be. And if you're dealing with scrolling on your phone and you're consuming me because you want help with that, just make that your goal. I want to reduce my phone use, and then consume content related to that until you have reached that goal. And you want to set some clear markdown or metrics for that. Maybe 2 hours of phone use a day. You want to get to that. Maybe you're at 5 or 6 or 8 or 3. Doesn't matter. Set yourself some realistic outcome that you want, and then pursue that. So anyway, this really helps me in all areas of life, because we want to minimize the amount of obligations we have, and we want to maximize the amount of intentions we have. Distractions are fine, but we don't want to have those dominate our commitment ability. And I use that in all areas, but for habit change, specifically scrolling on my phone, I use it a lot. And it really helps me. And like I said, not perfect, but it's a pursuit, right? It's not living in the desired outcome. It's pursuing that outcome and continuing to pursue that outcome. So if this resonated with you, I'd ask you to subscribe. If you know of anyone in your life that's dealing with scrolling issues and that could use this, let them know I'm out here helping. That's all I got. It's simple as that. Appreciate you. Bye.